Hey guys, Bowie here, and this is 50 Shades of Ember with Arteezy. If you're also interested in analysis of Ember's items with the same game, stay tuned and subscribe because that video is coming out this week. For a while there was not much liberty in the order of your skills with Ember, but this changed drastically since the buffs to Sleight of Fist, and we will learn alongside Arthur the many ways to play this hero. The way you use skill is related to both your lane opponents as well as the game in general. Pay attention to this game for instance. Radiant doesn't have that much magic damage, so getting points in Flame Guard is nice because it's a skill that deals a lot of damage, actually the skill that can deal the biggest amount of damage. For instance, in this lane versus Alina, Arteezy never learns Flame Guard because this hero can easily take it off and also builds Scepter to cancel that later on. In this game, Arteezy goes 1-1-3 until level 5, but then completely changes things up. As you can see, Ursa, Monkey King, and Windranger are heroes that can gap close on him and burst him down easily. He cannot just get Flame Guard and try to kill them because he will die faster, so instead he starts to learn Searing Chains. Look how it not only sets up a kill on the Windranger, but allows him to kill the Ursa later on. The fourth point of Flame Guard scales very little, and in a game where he's afraid to commit the spell aggressively, the Searing Chains allows him to control the Ursa after Enrage, lock Windranger after Windrun is used, etc. The same scaling logic can also be used as Arteezy gets more levels with Searing Chains. He doesn't learn the fourth point in the skill, and instead he goes back to Sleight of Fist. The Sleight of Fist scales amazingly well both in damage and cooldown. In a game Arteezy is afraid to get close to the enemies, more AoE and range for Sleight of Fist also means more Searing Chains being used. In general, Sleight of Fist is the skill most players are maxing first, but this game is probably the outlier of Ember games. Let's go back to the Alina game I talked about. You can see that Arteezy gets level 2 Sleight of Fist at level 3. Sleight of Fist not only is the most reliable harass on Alina for the least amount of mana, but it's also a way to dodge Dragon Slaves and LSAs. You're dealing 140 damage from afar and spending only 50 mana. That's pretty good, especially when you consider the cooldown. Since the cooldown got reduced so much, it actually becomes a great harassing tool versus a ranged hero like Lina, and he doesn't even bother with dodging spells that much. He just draws aggro as much as possible to avoid them. So not only this build allows Ember to lane better versus Alina, but other examples are Invoker and Puck that have too much burst damage or a way to dispel your Flame Guard. It just serves a similar purpose. He will still have the Searing Chains to deal with heroes he doesn't want to be close to, like the Ursa and Earth Spirit, while having very early points in Sleight of Fist to fight. This fight right here is a great example of why the Sleight of Fist Chains build is awesome. Obviously in this game he was kind of forced to go for it or AFK farm, which in this patch is almost always a no-no, especially on a hero that can fight so well like Ember. Flame Guard has a huge cooldown, whereas Sleight of Fist and Chains are pretty spammable. Look how much damage and space Arteezy can create in a very short period of time. He already starts dealing a lot of damage to the enemy heroes. One Sleight of Fist like this is easily 800 total damage, and because he has this build, he can later go back pressure the Lina, dodge the LSA while disengaging from the Ursa, killing the Lina, chaining the Ursa, and even more importantly, using the Sleight of Fist to mitigate the poison touch damage, whilst using the bottle, killing the Dazzle later on. Sleight of Fist is an amazing skill and it really enables your team when they lack gap close. This game right here showcases the same build we saw in the second game, but this time because Arteezy is in the safe lane. Against duo and tri-lanes, it's very rare that the enemy doesn't have enough magic damage to take your Flame Guard out. In this particular game, Shadow Shaman by himself with Wither Shock level 1 could take it, so Arteezy starts with Sleight of Fist, which can seem very underwhelming at level 1, but since he has Divine Favor and he is against 3 heroes, he can actually dish decent damage with each one. A lot of people think that getting Flame Guard is going to be better because you can catch up in the jungle later on, but not only Arteezy is in a tri-lane, which means he'll be level 7 at minute 12 or something, his fighting contribution will be terrible to that point. While Arteezy dies a decent amount of times in this lane, he was always able to get kills in return. With Flame Guard, that would hardly be true. Another aspect to mention, especially after the armor changes that I constantly talked about in the channel, is how much physical damage early on hurts in comparison to magic damage. Even though a level 6 Spangle has 6 armor, he melts to the Sleight of Fist here. Using Flame Guard on enemies relies on you spending tons of mana with Remnants to get close as well, and with Chains to lock them in place, and that's very hard to accomplish when you had a rough laning stage with no experience and no items. Overall, showcasing that the Sleight of Fist build is more often than not superior, but not the only answer, and we will find another game where Arthur goes for Flame Guard very early. This is a super interesting game. Crit decides to Underlord mid versus Arteezy's Ember, since Underlord has a lot of base damage, has Firestorm to deal with the Flame Guard, and since he builds tanky items that can mitigate the overall power spikes of the Ember Spirit in the mid game. Even though he has that spell that deals a lot of magic damage, Arteezy still goes for Flame Guard early, and we will discuss that. First of all, Underlord is a melee hero, so Flame Guard will be the highest amount of damage Arteezy can dish in a lane, no doubt, since he can always wait for Firestorm to be used to then trade with crit. That being said, Arteezy doesn't get Searing Chains, which is the quote-unquote normal build, and goes full Flame Guard and Sleight of Fist. The reason for it gets apparent quickly with this first rotation. They have Stifling Dagger, they have Track, they have Shackles, and Radiant has no escapes whatsoever, meaning that Arteezy can not only get Flame Guard to deal with all the 3 melee cores on the Radiant side, he can still use the buffed Sleight of Fist to deal a lot of damage. Another reason for getting Sleight of Fist instead of Chains is also the Magnus, allowing Arthur to do more damage than normal. Arthur was able to constantly hunt the enemies because of the low cooldown of Stifling Dagger and Shackles. Searing Chains deals decent damage at level 2, it's 160 on 2 targets, but it costs more than double the amount of Sleight of Fist, while Sleight of Fist can hit more than 2 targets, deals almost the same damage, and he already has lows and lockdowns for other heroes. Sleight of Fist is so good that he does the same thing he did in first game, stops learning Flame Guard after level 3, and goes back to that spell until he maxes it. Even at level 10, Arteezy understands that his team has a lot of reach and lockdown, whilst Radiant has almost none. Heroes like the Spectre and Crystal Maiden are just food for Arteezy, even when he has no Empower. Radiant also doesn't have a lot of magic damage outside of the Underlord, meaning that Arteezy can easily dive the supports and these other heroes, and they will not be able to break the Flame Guard, allowing him to get kill after kill without Searing Chains. Guys, thank you very much for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Leave me a comment if you really want the video talking about items. I think I did a pretty good job with the Lifestealer video, but unfortunately Mars was launched the day that I dropped the video, and it actually got no views, so I don't really know if people don't care about this item and skill build videos, or, you know, if it was just misunderstanding with Mars dropping and all, but yeah, thank you very much. You can follow me on Twitch, where I talk Dota, and also there's a lot of videos where I actually use your information and use your replays to, you know, talk about stuff, so make sure to follow me there if you want to be a part of those videos. There is a Twitch where I cast and play Dota sometimes, and also a Discord channel and an Instagram if you're into that. Thank you very much, and have a nice day. Bye.